Story 1. People in wheelchairs cannot ever walk or stand. Most people who need wheelchairs can walk or stand for small periods or do activity intermittently, and they may choose to stand up to grab something, but that does not mean you caught them in a lie. Pain, weakness, strain, and balance can all be reasons a person needs a chair. They do not have to have zero function to use one. If their life is easier with a mobility aid, then it is easier with a mobility aid. And it is none of our business what their condition is anyway. People do not have to justify their reasons for needing an assistive device. Do we interrogate everyone who wears glasses about whether they really need them? Story 2. That men think about sex every 6 seconds. How would you even determine that? Take a survey of a group of men and ask them, how often do you think about sex? Oh, I don't know. I guess every 5 to 7 seconds? Story 3. Many people believe that humans only use 10% of their brains, but this is a myth. In reality, we use nearly all parts of our brain, and most areas are active at all times. Story 4. That the Boston Tea Party was a protest against higher taxes on tea. The Tea Act actually lowered taxes on tea, allowing the East India Company to undercut colonial smugglers who had been supplying all the tea up to that point. That is what the colonists were mad about. Story 5. That exercising a certain part of your body will cause fat loss in that specific area. Want to lose that belly? Do sit-ups. Want slimmer legs? Do squats. Flabby arms? Do curls. I guess it's not the most harmful false belief in the world, and doing something is better than doing nothing. But you're never going to sit up your way out of a big belly or curl your flabby arms away if you don't also modify your diet and add a well-rounded exercise routine. Story 6. That you swallow 8 spiders per year in your sleep. That's really only true of my neighbor Ron, and only because I sneak into his house 8 nights a year and feed him spiders. Story 7. Women can't get pregnant during their first time when they lose their virginity. The number of inconsiderate individuals I saw in high school who kept telling their girlfriends that as a way to pressure them into unprotected sex was higher than you would believe. Story 8. If a human has contact with a baby animal, the mother will abandon that baby. No, they won't. Why would that be a thing? Do animals in the wild just give up on every baby that has a brush with a predator or other animal species? Story 9. That a human looking at a quantum process will cause it to change or be measured differently. This confusion comes from observe meaning something very specific in scientific aspects, and people thinking observe means a human looking at it. Story 10. That daddy long-legged spiders are the most venomous spiders in the world, but their mouths are too small to bite us, so they are harmless. I still hear this fact all the time from kids to adults. I always wondered how it got started. Story 11. That cats are inherently meaner than dogs. I never understood it. You can't approach a cat the same way you might a dog, because they are two different animals and will act in different ways. Not to mention there are cats who act like dogs and vice versa. Story 12. That the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. This just sounded good to someone, and it caught on as a popular phrase, but it has no medical or scientific merit. And Einstein did not say it either, as apparently some people believe. Story 13. That United States citizens pay less per capita towards healthcare than Europeans is incorrect. Or that money spent on healthcare by the taxpayer is less than in European countries is incorrect. Or that United States healthcare is generally better in any way is incorrect. United States citizens spend 3 times as much as the average United Kingdom citizen towards healthcare. United States taxpayers contributed $1.8 trillion towards healthcare expenditures in 2022. And the average life expectancy, even if we disregard the exceptionally high infant mortality rates in the United States, which we probably shouldn't, is exceptionally low in comparison. I will never understand why average United States citizens are so susceptible to propaganda regarding universal healthcare in the age of the internet when they literally have access to the facts at their fingertips. Story 14. Bears do not sleep all winter. Think of how insane that is. Their metabolism just slows down a lot and they deplete their stored-up fat. However, they do have reduced activity and rest a lot. Story 15. That Charles Lindbergh was the first person to fly across the Atlantic. He was 82 and came 8 years after the first flight. First solo flight, but far from the first. Story 16. There is a common misconception that you should drink 8 glasses of water a day. Hydration needs vary based on individual factors like activity level and climate. Story 17. Many people believe they are good when they are, in fact, vicious narcissists or selfish individuals. About the same number believe they are smart when they are below average. Story 18. Impeachment means removal from office. No, impeachment means impeachment, and not much else. If you are successfully impeached, there can be an optional removal trial. If you go ahead with the removal trial, it must take place in the Senate, and it must pass by 66% or higher. On December 19, 1998, President Bill Clinton, a Democrat, was impeached. Yet he finished out his term, ending on January 20, 2001. Why? Because Bill Clinton was a Democrat. Republicans controlled the House, so it was easy to get the 51% for the impeachment. But Democrats controlled the Senate, so the removal trial failed, and he finished out his term. The same thing happened in reverse for Donald Trump. Donald Trump was a Republican. Democrats controlled the House, so it was easy to get the 51% for the impeachment. But Republicans controlled the Senate, so the removal trial failed, and he finished out his term. Even if 95% of the people don't understand this, didn't the senators and representatives understand this? Yes, they did. Then why, in both cases, would they put the country through months of stress with all the extra TV time and anger? Number 1, because they don't care about the people. They only want to stay in power. Number 2, they hoped that the negative coverage and testimony on cable television would anger enough people to not vote for that person again. I refer you back to point number 1, story 19, that us elementary teachers are indoctrinating kids with radical beliefs. If I was indoctrinating kids, I would start by getting my students to walk quietly in an orderly line and not hurt each other during recess. Story 20, that protein is more important than carbohydrates, that you don't need carbohydrates. Risking getting criticized for this one, but I guarantee I've worked with more registered dietitians than most. Story 21, that when your electrocardiogram is flatline, you shock a patient. Or when you get shot, emergency surgery is done to take out the bullet because something bad will happen if you don't. Story 22, that harvesting rain off your roof is illegal in the United States. I am in a multi-week Facebook comment thread of people saying it's illegal, and every single person who will give me a specific jurisdiction has been proven wrong. But people keep authoritatively saying it's illegal in their town. It is regulated in some places, and you need a permit in some places, but in no state in the United States is it outright illegal for a private residence. And not in any municipality that anyone has cited. Story 23, that blood is thicker than water was derived from the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. The shorter quote came first and dates back centuries. There is no evidence of the latter one existing until this claim first appeared on the internet. Story 24, myth. Visiting a pornography site is a major cybersecurity risk. They're actually perfectly fine, especially sites owned by big companies such as OnlyFans and Pornhub. Billion-dollar companies spend lots of money ensuring their customers don't have to worry, and pornography is no exception. Story 25. One common myth is that we only use 10% of our brains. It is an idea that has been popularized by movies and pop culture. But in reality, brain scans show we use nearly all parts of our brain, even when we are doing simple tasks. Every part of the brain has a function, and even during sleep, our brains are active. The idea of untapped brain power might sound appealing, but it is simply not true. Story 26. If you like pink, girly activities, fashion, or are emotional, it doesn't mean you are gay. The only way to know if you're gay is if you are attracted to the same sex. But it's not even that simple. Story 27. Black men have bigger penises is the dumbest, most racist thing ever, and it is not true. The same goes for shoe size having anything to do with penis size. Humans are apes. Story 28. Statistics, it's not that they are not true, but people use them wrong almost all the time, and many people use them wrong on purpose. In statistics, I learned that you can prove one thing and the exact opposite with the same data. The lesson is, Don't trust statistics unless you have some knowledge about the field and read the complete study, or just assume you are going to be misled. Story 29. People often think that cracking your knuckles will cause arthritis. Studies have shown that it does not lead to joint problems. It is just a harmless habit. Story 30. So-called brainwashing and mind control. These terms are thrown around all the time in mass and social media, promoted by self-appointed cult experts, and are now part of the public lexicon. Despite decades of scholarship that debunks these phenomena as myths, the narrative endures unabated. Story 31. That exceeding expectations at work guarantees a raise or promotion. You'll only end up getting more work and picking up everyone else's slack over time.